My name is Manish Sethi. I'm the founder of Pavlok. Who here wish they has like a habit they would like to form or break? All right, a few people, surprisingly few. I feel like a lot of you also would love to change some other habits. Who here likes to make money? Cool. So at Pavlok, we help people change their habits in a variety of ways. So the big problem is that it's very easy to set goals, but it's often very hard to change them. It's very easy to commit to doing something, but it's really hard to stay accountable. And a lot of the current devices you know of, like the Fitbit or like the Apple Watch, they track what you're already doing, but do they actually change you? So we started testing in a variety of ways, and my background is in psychology, how to help people change habits. And really the truth is it's very simple. Habits change when three things change. When the environment shifts, when you get rewarded for incentives, and when you get punished for doing bad habits. And over the last few years, we've really focused on creating an environment and a wearable that could help you administer punishment to help you stop doing bad habits. But very recently, we started adding on a migration towards helping people get rewarded for good habits, specifically by getting paid real money for doing very good habits. And so I want to introduce you to Pavlok, the first wearable device which helps you change your habits permanently. I've got two on me right now. The first one is on my right arm. This is Pavlok 3. Only you guys have seen this. This comes out in a few months. And this is Pavlok 2, which attaches directly to any watch that you're already wearing. So you can attach it directly to your Apple Watch. You don't have to buy anything else. It attaches to your analog watch or whatever. And other devices are always tracking your behaviors, and ours does that as well. But the most important thing is that we administer feedback based upon those behaviors. So rather than just getting a little push notification each day that says you walked this many steps, what we do is we actually send you vibrations. Go to the next slide. Vibrations, beeps, and what we're most famous for, an electric zap that rewards you for doing good behaviors and stops you from doing bad behaviors. Sometimes you need a slap. And I guess I'll take this next 30 seconds to introduce myself. Let's go back to the slapping screen because that's my favorite picture of myself in the world. So back in 2012, I had a blog that was really well known called Hack the System, where I would travel the world. People would vote what I would do and where I would go. And somebody basically voted for me to put down a vote, and it won for me to move to San Francisco and do an experimentation series on making myself become more productive. I suffered from ADHD, they claimed, and I always had trouble focusing, so I decided to do an experiment where I hired a girl to sit down next to me, and every time, you can just stay on that slide, and every time I got distracted, she would slap me in the face. And in the next 4 days, I wrote more articles than I'd written in the last 4 months because I was being both punished for bad habits, being held accountable, and being rewarded by her for doing good habits. She gave me back money for doing good habits. I gave her $1,000 at the beginning of the week, and I got back $200 every day that I did my behaviors. By adding a punisher, a reward, and an accountability partner, we created a whole environmental system that allowed me to completely revolutionize my behavior and managed to publish a book in just 4 days, which was really awesome. Thank you. What was really interesting was that you can just stay on that slide. I'll tell you when to go. So what was really interesting was very rapidly after I noticed that I went to sleep, I woke up, and apparently the word slapper means prostitute in the UK. So the Daily Mail wrote an article about it that went super viral, and by the time I woke up, I was already like in the Guardian, the Sun, and the Daily Mail, and I woke up to a phone call from NPR, and for the next 3 days I was famous. And I was really fascinated by this because I was famous for the next 3 days, and I thought to myself, this is really interesting, and then the fame dropped because that's how press cycles go. And so I said, how could I redo this? What if I made a dog collar that zapped me every time I went on Facebook? And I thought that's actually really interesting because there's a million wearables out there that track what you do, but this one's actually changing what I do. Maybe if it's not just a funny blog post, maybe it's something real. So in the last few years, we've been doing this for about 5 years. Next slide, thank you. We've released and sold over 100,000 units. There are about 35,000 people wearing this device right now as we speak. And the most common habits are waking up early, quitting smoking, reducing. Over 7,000 people have quit smoking with our product. An average person who quits smoking gains 10 years of life, which means we've added 70,000 years to the human species, which to me is really, really cool. We've helped people reduce cravings, stop negative thoughts, and even use it for meditation purposes to calm their mind. And most recently, my favorite new use case is that it vibrates and zaps when you touch your face and it gives you a reminder to wash your hands every 3 hours. And what a great time for this to happen. Yeah. So anyway, next up. So this is a product. It's basically a habit store within an app. Our app allows you to download and unlock new habits. Think of it like a Netflix for new habits. And since 2015, when we released our first product, over 100,000 units have been sold at an average cost of around $150. So that's, do the math, about 15 million. In revenue, we've had over 1 million nights of sleep tracked. Over 5 million alarms have woken up people without them snoozing. And over 10, just around 12.5 to 13 million in revenue generated. In January, we changed our business model. So it used to be all about stopping bad habits, but we decided to test something different. What if you could get paid real money for doing good habits? And right now you can win up to $1,000 a day. We give up to $1,000 every single day to somebody who walks 1,000 steps or wakes up on time. And everything fucking changed. It was so cool. So we used to have a $179 full price product. We dropped it instantly to $29.99 a month. Often we have offers where you paid $9.99 for the first month, and then you receive a product and you have $30 a month after that. Instantly, our churn dropped to under 4%. Our lifetime value of a customer went from $179 to $750. Our cost to acquire a customer dropped from $80 to $30, and our time to recover the CAC went to just 31 days, which is astronomical if anybody's in the SaaS market. Our MRR, we've been doing for about 4 months. On month 0, which you can't see, was at 0. And then you can see it grew exponentially from $0 to $30,000 in monthly recurring revenue. This is us now. This is a picture you can't see. This is Fitbit in 2010. You can see how rapidly they scaled. They sold about 60,000 units in 2010. I don't have very much time, so I'm moving fast. They went from 2010, they 100x'd in just 3 years, and they went up to 22 million units. If you go to the next one. If all we do is make it 1 year at the same speed as Fitbit, we'll be doing $100 million ARR by the end of next year, which is to me really awesome. And so we don't want to, I know, and I'm almost done. We don't want to slow down growth, but we have to because of how SaaS models work. When you lose money up front, we lose money for the first 1 to 2 months up front. So we have to temper our growth in order to maintain cash flow positive. So what we're looking for is one slide backwards. And these are our projections, with blue being the pay in full, which is how it was for the last 2 years. Right now is 2020 with a 50-50 split towards subscription and pay in full, and next year all subscription. What we're looking for is $250,000 as either equity or debt in order to help us cover cash flow. As debt, we would pay you back with a guaranteed term, and you could become part, you can go next slide, become part of the company that will change the way people earn and spend money and their habits around the world. Thank you very much. Woo! My name is Manish Sethi from Pavlok.
Amazing, great. Thank you so much. So, questions?
$250,000 or a portion of it, either as equity or debt. If it were to be debt, which is probably my preferred model, the equity would be, we're at a 25 million valuation, so I guess that'll be 1%. 1%? Yeah, and our goal is to IPO. Our goal is to IPO. We are on an IPO trajectory within 7 years. So at 1% of a $100 million, you can do the math, but 1% of $1 billion is what our IPO valuation would be. So that'd be $100 million or $10 million. Yeah, 10 million.
Manish, what's the current equity structure now?
I own 90% of the company. About 10% is owned by an incubator that invested on us on day one, and that's it.
Who was that?
Bolts. They're based out of Boston and San Francisco, and they're a hardware startup incubator.
And they invested how much?
They invested $50,000 for 10% of the company.
So they invested $50,000 for 10%.
Yeah, and then we were offered and took a convertible note that gave us a $25 million valuation, but we elected to pay it back.
And when did they invest?
They invested about end of 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So we could command basically a 1 million ARR in the Silicon Valley. And my decision was to stay in Bali or go back to Silicon Valley to raise at a 1 million ARR, which we're on pace to hit in about 4 months, about 3 months. We'd be able to command a $5 to $10 million raise at a 50 million or so valuation. So we're talking about doing this as a debt or equity split at a lower valuation for Baliettes.
I understand.
Yep. Any questions?
Some other questions? Yeah.
How is it going with the subscription structure? I know you talked
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I could talk about this all night. I only have a few minutes, but the thing about subscription that I think we are inventing a new business model in the same way Salesforce.
One more time.
Sure. Basically, it's very simple. Instead of buying, like imagine buying an Apple Watch, it costs $399, right? What if instead of buying it, it costs only 39 bucks and they ship it to you, and if you want to cancel it, you mail it back.
Okay.
What happens is a lot of people don't have $399 but really want that product. In America, there's a big movement towards subscription.
Sure.
But the beauty of what I think we've invented is the act of mailing it back has dropped churn so massively that we've created a B2B level churn for a B2C company target TAM, total market. So we have a less than 4% churn on a product that every single person in the world could use and could benefit from. So I think what we've done in a lot of ways is basically like Salesforce is really famous for inventing the SaaS business model. I think we will be known as the guys who invented product as a service business model. The guys who took a product, deliver it for a much cheaper cost, and are able to keep churn at such a low level that the company profits like forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. I don't know if it's similar, but the mobile phone in the States is the same. You buy a phone and then you get it really cheap.
Yeah, exactly. They have a payoff period, but actually Apple did invent this a very similar model that's like you pay it 20 bucks a month and you can upgrade every couple of years, similar to us. And I think leasing is also similar for on cars. It's somewhat similar. So yeah, it does exist, and I think that mobile phone, I think that me being compared to the smartphone is all right.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Question about what scares the shit out of you about this business?
Did you hear that question?
What scares the shit about me of this business? A couple years ago, or a couple months ago even, my biggest fear was that we would have massive churn rates, or we wouldn't, or our cost to acquire customer would be so high that we wouldn't be able to cover it. But in the last 3 months, we've been testing hardcore. And what's really beautiful is that not only, like, we've done projections for 5 years of this company, and we always miss it. And this is the only time where I've doubled my projections every single time. Every single time it's been double our speed, and it's like, I even took out extra loans just to cover my cash flow, just in case. I took out like $100,000 in loans from some banks a couple months ago, and I put it in another bank account just in case I wasn't able to maintain cash flow. But instead, we've been able to maintain cash flow very, very well, and so now I'm like, well, the market just dropped. Should I just invest that money somewhere else and just see what happens? So I would say that for the first time I could ever say truthfully about my company, I'm not scared at all. I'm really excited. $250,000 allows me to buy basically, let's say 5,000 to 6,000 units of inventory at a much lower cost per unit. It allows me to buy advertising at a much higher rate. And most importantly, it allows me to cover a float as I send out. Basically, like, we have to limit the amount we spend on ads every day. So for example, when we dropped our cost to $9.99 for the first month, we started selling 20 to 30 units a day. But it happened so fast. Like, we would go through our spend within hours, that we were moving all the units, but we got to wait we got to wait 61 days until our cash is back profitable. So we have to turn off the ads or drop the ad spend. So more and more dollars allows us to grow at a much faster pace.
Why not more dollars? Why 250? Why not $1 million?
I mean, I'll take more. It's Bali.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Thank you. Woo, bring it up to Manish. That was amazing.